The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
So hello and welcome to another episode of the Star Sport podcast. I'm your host Matthew Hurling. I'm joined today as always by Star Sport editor Kieran McCarthy. The Star Sport podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, where your bank really does matter. Choose credit union, choose local, choose community. Now this week we will be joined by Shane Kingston to discuss Cork's All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship semi-final against Dublin in Croke Park this Saturday at 5 p.m. Kingston is also an Air ambassador. Air have reached a major milestone in its network transformation, Ireland's #1 5G network availability award for the 5th year in a row as the first operator to launch 5G at Croke Park. In 2020, Air's ultra-fast fibre and 5G networks are bringing faster speeds, stronger connections and better coverage to communities right across Ireland. So I suppose, first of all, before we get on to Shane's chat there, Kieran, we might as well discuss the game ourselves. Cork against Dublin. Just before coming on here, I'm seeing on social media that apparently it looks like the game is going to sell out. There was extra tickets released today and apparently they've been snapped up. Hill 16 tickets, extra tickets there haven't been released yet as of yet, but we'll know more maybe in the coming days. But this has all the ingredients of being a brilliant game of hurling, especially after Dublin's result against Limerick in the All-Ireland quarter-final.
Yeah, like you said, there's close again and a sellout on Saturday evening. That's really no surprise when you see the Cork hurling team involved. If it is a sellout, that means every Cork hurling game in the championship has been a sellout, which is incredible. But that's the support that this Cork hurling team is getting. So, like you said, Matthew, it's the makings of an incredible spectacle in Croke Park on Saturday evening. Hopefully, the weather gods will play ball as well and give us the ideal conditions for a game like this. It's an All-Ireland semi-final, and the way the championship has opened up for Cork in the last couple of weeks, obviously with Dublin beating Limerick, there was a great opportunity for the Cork hurlers to first get the final and then have a good chance of winning a final. Okay, and that's not looking past Dublin, but the Cork have to be favourites for the All-Ireland now, with Limerick out of the equation. On the other side, you have Kilkenny and Tipperary who feel they'll have something to say in the matter, but it's just, it does feel like there's an opportunity there now, and it's one that the Cork hurlers, not saying they can't afford not to take it, but like when you have a chance like this, you really have to make the most of it.
You're talking about a chance and potentially missed opportunity of reaching the All-Ireland final there, but to be fair, you have to admit as well, Dublin have improved over the last few years. I know Cork would be going in as massive favourites, but in terms of, they missed 18 shots last year, they've only averaged about 12 or 13 this year out of all their games. So is that an indication that Dublin are improving? And look at that game against Limerick in the quarterfinal where they ambushed them in many ways in Croke Park. Is that an indication that if Cork aren't switched on from the very word go, this could be a scalp that Dublin could take?
Like, Dublin are in the best position going into Saturday's game because the pressure is going to be on Cork, the expectations on Cork favourites to win the All-Ireland, not to mind beat Dublin. So it's almost like Dublin are going into this game almost not in the same kind of way they went in against Limerick, because it's almost like, the secret's out now. Like this is a really good Dublin team. But they're going in as underdogs into a big game again, and that will suit Dublin down to the ground. And even if you're looking at the previous kind of championship record between Cork and Dublin, just looking here, that this will be the 20 championship meeting between the counties. Cork have won 16, Dublin have won 2. So even history is suggesting and pointing towards a Cork victory. So that's kind of playing into Dublin's hands, where they can really revel in that underdog status, and they can really just kind of focus on themselves and go out, play the best that they can. And if they win, incredible. But if they lose, I don't think you'll have anyone kind of point the fingers at Dublin saying, it's a missed opportunity for Dublin. It's very much the opposite. I think this is an incredible opportunity for the Dublin hurlers to build on the momentum that they have after beating Limerick, but to get into an All-Ireland final as well. So there's kind of pitfalls here for the Cork team to manage the occasion, manage the expectation, manage the pressure, and get the result as well to get them through to the final. So there's a bit of work for Cork to do to get through Dublin on Saturday, I think.
You look at the history as well. Dublin haven't reached the All-Ireland final in hurling since 1961. They haven't beaten Cork in the championship since 1927. So it will break a lot of records if they obviously win on Saturday as well. But from a Cork point of view, when you look at missed opportunities and turnovers and things like that, and a few itsy bitsy stuff maybe, is there an argument to say that Cork haven't done well in the championship so far this year? They did very well in the league, obviously winning the league title, romping Tipperary in the final. But when you look at the championship games overall from a Cork point of view, do you think they've hit their peak height yet?
I think they've done what they've needed to do. Like, I think it's hard to say that Cork haven't hit that height when they are Munster champions for the first time since 2018. So they have the silverware to show, and they came out on top in Munster, which, as we know, is the kind of the most competitive of all the hurling, well, of the two hurling provinces. So like Cork they've passed the tests that have been put in front of them. When you go back to being hammered by Limerick, what was that, 326 to 116? That was a 16-point hammering, but then to come back in the Munster final and to beat Limerick then after extra time, like, that tells you a lot about the character of this team. So I think they have done well just to manage the expectation, because that's what we're starting to see, Matthew. That's why the big crowds are coming out, because the Cork fans they're adding great colour, great noise, but there is also that expectation that this Cork team are going to end this 20-year wait for the Liam McCarthy. We saw kind of building last year, Cork getting to the final, okay, losing to Clare. Cork won the league this year for the first time in a long time. Now they've won the Munster Championship, so they've 2 trophies ticked off, and they're going chasing the big one now. So there is that expectation that Cork can do it, and to play well with that expectation, like it's tough in a team. But I think what we're seeing from Cork is they're answering each test. You go back to the first game against Clare, and that was obviously a draw up in Cusack Park, and they were saying, okay, the pressure's gonna come in Cork here. It's a game that they should have won, gave away a big lead, came back the next day, beat Tipperary. Then they lost to Limerick, but they bounced back. They beat Waterford. Then they got the win that they needed against Limerick in the Munster final. So I think they're answering the questions that have been put in front of them. And I think almost, if you're looking back now, that big loss to Limerick in the group stage, which wasn't fatal, like, that was another kind of character test to this Cork team. How can you respond to that? And they did respond. And now we're going to see another question posed of Cork on Saturday. How can you respond to being favourites in an All-Ireland semi-final when the expectation is on that you're going to win this game? And hopefully Pat Ryan's been able to come up with the answer.
Exactly. So we will see what happens on Saturday. It should be a very interesting game between the Rebels and the Dubs, of course. But before all that, we did chat to Shane Kingston before this weekend's game. And other than this weekend's game, Kieran, we talked about a little bit of a connection to West Cork with Shane Kingston. Obviously, he was at the Goleen GAA dinner dance recently. He'll tell us his own story and how he met the lads from Goleen in the chat later on. But that's incredible when you think about it, that a guy from Douglas, the city area, came down to West Cork and was at a dinner dance of a club that is steeped in success, especially last season.
Yeah, I've always said it to people who listen to me, there's always the West Cork angle, there's always the West Cork link, and this is one I wasn't expecting, that Shane Kingston would turn up in the West Lodge Hotel in Bantry for Goleen's medal presentation night after their success of their junior footballers last year. But there we go, it's the wonderful world of West Cork sport. It just keeps on surprising us. And I know in your chat with Shane that we're going to hear in a couple of seconds now, that you asked Shane just about that connection to Goleen, and it's I think when you think about Cork hurling for a second, like, it's kind of very much seen as East Cork and the city and so on. Like, West Cork is seen as kind of football heartland, and this is football territory. But it is good to see that even a link like that, kind of, you'd have to go Goleen lads now watching the game on Saturday evening, kind of cheering on Shane Kingston. Like, he's the fellow who was down a couple of weeks ago to present them with their medals. He's the fellow who was out in the village, kind of late last year. So it's lovely to have those little links and those connections. And I suppose we have to mention the Dublin link too, don't we? We talked about it on last week's podcast that Cian O'Sullivan, the Dublin hurler, got a goal against Limerick in the semi-final. He's actually a first cousin of Anya Terry O'Sullivan, the Cork ladies footballer from Allihies, because Anya's father and Cian's father are brothers, so they're for kind of that Scarnish GA, the genes are strung out in that direction. So we've links to both teams on Saturday, Matthew.
Exactly so, and let's hear from Shane Kingston right now. So I'll be joined on the podcast this week by Shane Kingston before Cork's All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship semi-final against Dublin this weekend. I suppose, first of all, Shane, how are you feeling ahead of the game? Like, it's a big game for Cork.
Yeah, no, we're feeling good. Obviously, yeah, it's a big game. After winning the Munster final now, we kind of put the heads down and kind of trained hard over the last kind of 2 weeks. Yeah, looking forward to the game next week, big time, yeah.
Before going more depth in hurling, we had a piece in the Southern Star recently where you were a special guest down at Goleen for their dinner dance in recent weeks. So how did that all come about? Like, it's kind of an interesting combination, yourself a brilliant Cork hurler and the club in Goleen.
Yeah, it's a long story, but I went down to Goleen over winter with my girlfriend, and we were just walking around, and I just walked into a pub and just had a drink and bumped into that group and ended up staying with them for the night. So that's how it came about, and they invited me down then a couple of weeks ago.
Would you come down to West Cork again?
Yeah, I would, definitely.
I suppose talking hurling, obviously, winning the Munster Championship with Cork in recent weeks, first Munster since 2018, like, that must be absolutely outstanding for the group.
Yeah, it was great to win. I suppose, as you said, it's the first one since 2018. I was involved in 17 and 18 when we won back-to-back, and you nearly think that it's going to be a regular occurrence winning a Munster, or I suppose getting a bit of silverware. But as the career goes on, I suppose you learn it. Things don't always pan out that way. So it was very sweet to win another one a couple of weeks ago, and we kind of cherished it on the day, and it was brilliant for the group. But yeah, I suppose we had our 1 or 2 days off, and we grouped together then on the Monday night and got focused on the semi-final then straight away.
And winning 2 trophies in 1 year, obviously the league title in the bag, the Munster Championship in the bag, that's kind of a good habit to have for a Cork team, I'm guessing it too.
100%, yeah. I suppose winning silverware any year is brilliant, but I suppose winning the league and the Munsters obviously is great, because I don't think any one of us had a league medal, and there's probably a fine chunk of the group didn't have a Munster medal either. So that's going to build a bit of confidence in them that they've kind of got 2 medals, 2 out of 2 really for this year. So yeah, and as you said, kind of builds a bit of momentum then as well.
I suppose off the pitch as well, like in the dressing room after the Limerick game, singing Kill after winning the Munster Championship, that song by Kingfisher, that had an indication that the group is really united and together for the cause this year for Cork hurling. Do you kind of feel that amongst the group that you're all just a band of brothers in many ways?
Yeah, like, it's probably no different to any other year really. I suppose we're just lucky in a sense this year that we've had a bit of success so far. Ever since I've been involved, the group has been a very tight-knit group, and you've the best of your friends are there 4 or 5 nights a week, and it's kind of always been that way for me personally. But yeah, like, as I said, no different to any other year. The group is really tight, and always has been since my involvement, really, to be honest.
Is this the best year that you've had in terms of success so far in the Cork jersey, in your opinion, Jim?
Yeah, I didn't have a league medal, so yeah, I had 2 Munsters. So yeah, a league and a Munster in the 1 year is my most successful year.
I suppose the fans driving on as well, like, it's supposed to be a full house this weekend against Dublin as well. Like, it's like the fans are really driving on this Cork team at the moment. I think Marty Morrissey mentioned in RT commentary that there isn't a fan left in Cork after the Limerick game. So like, the fans are really getting behind you in this championship run.
Yeah, they are, and it's great. I think most of the time when people are talking, they mention our fans, which is brilliant, and it's a credit to them. But I suppose the group and the management and everyone really does appreciate it, and we understand the efforts that people do make to go to all these games. But we just try to go out there then and I suppose do them proud, and I suppose make a good impression on them when we know the the sacrifices that they're making to be there on the day.
I suppose, does that give you kind of an energy on the field as well, that the fans are really getting behind you and it kind of seeps onto the pitch?
I'd say it would, yeah. Like, I suppose everyone's probably different, but definitely initially when you run out and you hear the roar and see the sea of red like around the stadium is definitely gives you that bit of goosebumps anyway, which is brilliant. As you kind of go through the warm up and get into the game, then you kind of change your focus then, and your focus on the ball and how you can perform to the best of your ability. But when you hear the roar then as well, it's brilliant.
I suppose your opponents in the semi-final, Dublin, after beating Limerick in the quarter-final, in any way, Shane, like a lot of people were shocked by that result. You as a group, were you shocked by that result, Dublin beating Limerick?
For me personally, probably not, because as I was saying earlier, I just remember last year in the quarter-final in Thurles where we were all on the 13, 21-yard line trying to prevent the goal because we were only 3 or 4 points up coming down the stretch. So we knew what Dublin were about that day, and we saw it then again against Limerick. So we weren't surprised in the slightest. And look, as we were saying earlier, that anytime you go down to 14, it's going to be a tough game to win. But I suppose they just worked hard and their attitude was spot on, and they got rewarded kindly for it then.
I suppose it's kind of a scenario here where there's no second chances. There's 4 very good teams left, and including Tip and Kilkenny on the other side. Like, it's really knockout hurling now. It's getting to that stage.
Yeah, 100%. So I suppose anytime you go to Croke Park, it's knockout hurling really. But look, I suppose that's the reason you train. It's the reason you're back in October, November, December, running in the mud and the rain. You're waiting to be in this position, and thankfully we're in it. So it's obviously a privilege to be there. So we're going to do the best we can now over the next kind of week to 10 days and try to put in the best performance we can against Dublin.
Just on a side note, like playing in Croke Park, do you relish that kind of shame? Because you've played in Croke Park so many times over the last few years, you've put in some brilliant performances up there. Do you enjoy playing up there?
Definitely, I suppose. Anytime you're at Croke Park, it's, as I was saying, it's a quarter-final, semi-final, or final. So it's a privilege, as you said, to be there. And you just want to make sure you're on the winning side of it when you are there, because at the end of the day, it's knockout championship, and you don't want your season to end premature. And then when you're in a stadium like that and the pitch in peak condition, you kind of relish that opportunity to get there, because it mightn't come around the year after, and it doesn't happen too often.
I suppose one final thing, like on the boss himself, Pat Ryan, how much of an influence has he had on the team? Like from the outside, he seems like a brilliant motivator to have for the players.
Yeah, like he came up with the 20s and had success with them, and he's done a good job in kind of amalgamating and getting that balance between the kind of younger guys, the middle guys, and the older guys. And the players have made that effort as well to, I suppose, get to know each other and get so friendly. And yeah, no, look, it's been great having the younger fellas come in, and you can see the additions that they've made to the team and the panel then as well.
Absolutely. So, listen, Jane, best of luck and at the weekend, and the whole of Cork is behind you. Thanks very much for your time, Shane.
Thanks, Matthew. Cheers.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
So obviously, there is other intercounty teams involved. Obviously, the John Cleary's Cork footballers are out of the championship, but 2 other intercounty sides at senior level are in the championship. And starting off with the Cork camogie team, who beat Wexford, their latest win, a 5-21 to 11-point win in Chadwick's Wexford Park last weekend. Cork, Germany's side, are straight through to the All-Ireland semi-final. I suppose, Kieran, it is expected at this stage that they would ramp home against Wexford, but you would imagine bigger tests are to come. There's 6 sides left in the Camogie Championship now. Waterford against Clare in the quarterfinal this weekend, Tip and Kilkenny being the other quarterfinal, and Galway along with Cork are the automatic qualifiers for the semi-finals.
Yeah, we keep saying about this Cork Camogie team, they're just so impressive. They just keep doing what they need to do. Like, there was a big score to put up on Wexford last weekend, but again, it's no surprise when you look at the quality of this Cork team. Looking here at the Group 1 table, like obviously Cork have beaten all 4 teams, Tip, Clare, Limerick and Wexford. They were the top scorers, kind of averaging over 30 points a game, like, which is incredible. And conceding just 10 points a game. Like, to concede just 40 points across their 4 championship games tells you a lot about this, where this Cork team is right now, and where that is. They're the best team in the country, and now they're into the last 4, into the business end. They have 2 games to go. Touch wood, there'll be 2 wins that will clinch the 3 in a row. But they're just such an impressive group, and we've said it here on the podcast before, Matthew, that the Cork Camogie team are the top Cork intercounty team of the moment. You know, they're just leagues, Munster titles, All-Irelands. They've won it all, you know, and they're in a good position to go even further now, and they'll have a bit of a break now as the quarterfinals play out, and they'll be back at it again. But they're closing in on history.
Exactly so, and obviously there will be a few weeks of a break for Germany's side, but hopefully the Cork Camogie team can take this momentum and get the 3 in a row that they'll be thriving for, I'd imagine. Joe Carroll's Cork LGFA side are in All-Ireland quarterfinal action this weekend. They're facing Dublin in Parnell Park on Saturday at 1:15, so that game is also live on TG Car as well. And you had an interesting chat in this week's Stark here to Melissa Duggan before the game, obviously, and with the game actually on the same day as the Cork hurlers playing against Dublin and Croke Park and Parnell Park. I looked at it on Google Maps. It's like a 40 to 50 minute walk between 2 stadiums. So could the Cork supporters make a day out of it and support the LGFA team in Parnell Park before the hurlers playing Croke Park?
That would be incredible. I think the Cork ladies would really appreciate that. And that's what Melissa Duggan we were chatting about for an interview in Thursday Southern Star. We're just about the fact that you have the Cork ladies are playing in Parnell Park at 1:15 on Saturday. And obviously, like we said earlier, the Cork hurlers are playing Dublin in the All-Ireland senior hurling semi-final at 5 o'clock in Croke Park. And there's just 3 kilometres between the stadiums. Like you said, it's like maybe a 40-minute walk. If you're getting a taxi, there's only 8 or 9 minutes, you know, kind of traffic alone. So there's, like, it would be super, Melissa was saying, that if they could get more Cork fans to Parnell Park on Saturday afternoon, because it's a small venue, it's a tight stadium, every fan counts there, because while the Cork hurlers are going in as favourites against Dublin on Saturday evening, the Cork ladies footballers are going in as underdogs against Dublin on Saturday afternoon. So every little kind of 1% counts here, and if it's a few more supporters cheering on this Cork team in a All-Ireland quarter-final, I think the team would really appreciate it. And like we said before, this is a team that's it's finding its feet, you know, we've seen the progress that they made from the start of the season right through to now. And I think once they've hit the championship, and Melissa makes this point that since they've started playing Division 1 teams in the last couple of weeks, that you can start to see the progress and the potential of this team. Go back to the round robin stage where Cork really put it up to All-Ireland champions Kerry in the first half of that game, led by 2-6 to 1-3 at half time before Kerry eventually went on to win that game. Then they played Mayo in the second match, and Cork won away to Mayo up in Castlebar in a game that Cork simply had to win. So there are all these little signs that this Cork team is moving in the right direction. They're facing a big test on Saturday against a really strong Dublin team, an experienced Dublin team. So that's why if we can get a couple of more fans there on Saturday afternoon, brilliant.
Exactly so, and wishing Joe Carroll's team all the best of luck this Saturday in Parnell Park. Away from the inter-county season, the club season is just beginning in championship form anyway. The league finals have to be played first though, and there is a plethora of West Cork teams in action in County Football League final action this weekend. Starting off on Friday the 4th of July, you have St Finbarrs against Clonakilty in the Division 1 final in Ballygarvan at 7:30. In the Division 2 final on Friday night, you have Carry Rangers against Knocknagree in Ballyvorney at 7:30. And in Rossmore, you have a West Cork derby, a vicious West Cork derby at that, Argentine Rangers and Kilmackabey at 7:30 in Rossmore. And then on Sunday, you have 2 other finals as well. Athabulloch face Bandon in the Division 4 decider in Ballymah at 7:30 p.m. And then at 5 p.m. in Dunmanway in the Division 5 final, you have Gabriel Rangers against Kilmurray. So you have 5 finals there, Kieran, with West Cork involvement. So a lot to look forward to in the league finals. And as well as that, St. Finbarr's against Clonakilty and Carbery Rangers and Knocknagree are going to be shown live by Clubber this weekend. So huge shout out to them. It's probably the first time ever that league finals are going to be streamed live on a platform in Cork GAA circles. So it's brilliant overall, and brilliant to have the West Cork teams there.
Yeah, the West Cork teams have done really well in the county football leagues and in the county hurling leagues as well. We finals of those coming up the weekend after, but we're moving towards championship time. Like it's July now, and the county championships throw in later this month, so it's only 3 or 4 weeks to go, and we'll be talking about the county championships and some huge games there. So for these West Cork teams, these league finals, it's ideal preparation in one way. Kind of, instead of looking for challenge games, you have a competitive game with a trophy on the line. Win that trophy, there's a bit of a pep in your step the next couple of weeks going into championship, and it's all good, kind of for the winning teams. But even for the teams that lose, it's still a competitive game at a good level, and it's going to stand to them going into the next couple of weeks. That Clonbar's game on Friday is fierce interesting. It's only in a couple of weeks' time the two teams are going to meet in the group stage of the County Premier Senior Football Championship as well. So that's definitely one to watch. Like you said, that game was on Clubber as well as the Ross game with Knocknagree. So it's kind of really interesting. Like even the Carbery Rangers, for example, they won every game in Division 2, 100% record, 9 wins from 9. So to win the league title would be, I suppose, a cherry on top of the ice on top of the cake for Ross as they're going up to Division 1 for next year. And we'll give them, again, like I said earlier, that bit of momentum going into the championship. So there's so many very interesting narratives right down through the divisions. Even go down to Argideen against Kilmacabea. You've two teams there that'll be probably fighting it out for kind of Carbery honours in a couple of months as well. So it's a chance to get one over the other. So a busy and exciting weekend ahead.
Exactly. So, and just one more thing on Clubber in general to stream those 2 finals. Do you think that's great for Cork GAA? Like you looked at Rebels Online over the last few years. I think the Irish Examiner did it the year before as well in streaming Cork games. But it seems with Clubber now, like I've seen it with the Wexford Championship, Kerry Championship, Tipperary, nearly every game across the weekend in senior championships and intermediate championships are actually being streamed. So that could be a good sign for the Cork Club Championship that a lot of games will be shown. And that is a really good start this weekend.
That's brilliant. It's great to see league finals. Like you wouldn't even come into your head to think that Clubber would stream league finals. But if you look at the teams involved, like two of the big teams, and looking towards the championship, and later this summer there'll be two of the favourites to go far, like Carbery Rangers and Knocknagree, two big teams and from two important football areas as well. So kind of Clubber quite clever what they're doing in streaming these games, and it's going to give fans a taster of what their service will be like come the Cork Club Championships. Anyone who's subscribed to Clubber already knows like it's a quality outfit, and they're, like you said, the width and breadth of games that they cover. Kind of Cork fans, especially abroad, will be in for a treat. But even Cork fans locally, like there's so many games once the county championship starts that it's just impossible to get to all the games that you want to get to. So we're waiting to see what the Clubber schedule will be like. But it's an opportunity for fans to watch more games than they might normally do. So I think it's great. It's a big plus point.
Exactly is, and the county championships are beginning just around the corner as well at the end of July, as Kieran mentioned as well. We'll take a quick break now, and after the break, we'll have more on this week's paper.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
So it is that time of the week again, Kieran, where we look at what's in this Thursday's Southern Star Sports section. So what should our readers expect this week?
Yeah, it's a really good sports section this week, Matthew. So obviously we've built up to the Cork and Dublin games, both for the ladies footballers and for the hurlers. I have a good chat with Melissa Duggan about the ladies footballers. For Melissa is one of the most experienced Cork players out there now. This is her 9th season with the ladies football panel. But when Joe Carroll came in as a new manager and brought in James McCarthy from Castlehaven as a coach, she'd never worked with those two before. So she really felt she had to prove herself because, like she was telling me, they mightn't have seen her play before. So the slate was wiped clean for so many players. So Melissa went into this season with a point to prove, and that point being that she's good enough to start for Cork, and she certainly proved that. So that's a good interview worth checking out. In terms of our Cork Dublin hurling preview, obviously we have a piece with Jane Kingston. We just heard Matthew talking to him a couple of moments ago. But as well as that, we have a nice piece with Damien Cahalan, the Cork hurler with the Castlehaven Lynx, talking about the importance of family in his journey and his rise. He's into county career and his rise to where he is now. He's 32, made his debut back in 2012, yet he's still here, 2025, playing for Cork, and that's just a testament to Damien. County Leagues, our feature game is Clonakilty's draw with Castlehaven last weekend, so that's worth checking out. Also, it was harder for Gabriel Rangers in their county confined junior B hurling semi-final. They lost on Sunday, but they're still kind of going into the West Cork Championship. There's still a lot to be positive for Gabriel's. I caught up too with Carbery football coach Holly O'Sullivan to talk about the divisions and Carbery in general, because Carbery are playing Musgrave next Tuesday night in Castletown in the college's divisional section. So always interested to hear from Holly in terms of his thoughts on the college's divisional setup and what its future looks like. And he also gives us an update on the squad, what the Carbery football squad for 2025 is looking like. And we've way more besides that. We've there was a rowing World Cup was on in Lucerne the weekend, and it was great to see Fintan McCarthy win bronze again and actually beat Paul O'Donovan twice over there in Lucerne. They were in different boats the weekend just gone. But also for Bantry Pararoor, Sive Lira, who won a bronze medal in her first regatta at this level. So we have a chat with Sive in Thursday Southern Star. Also a picture special from Clonakilty Soccer Club's Awards night that was held in Clon over the weekend. And sticking with soccer for a moment, we are talking to West Cork League Secretary John Buckley about the West Cork League's move to summer soccer calendar in 2027 and what that means and what that looks like. On top of that, we have a look ahead to the Ravens Rock Rally in Waterford, where there's a lot of West Cork interest there. It's just packed. It's a really good sports section this week. So for anyone listening to the podcast, I really would advise you to check out the Southern Star sports section, because there's an awful lot of quality in it week in, week out.
Absolutely so. And as usual, if you are further afield or can't make it to the shops, you can subscribe to the Southern Star e-paper and get the Southern Star on your laptop, tablet or phone. Just go to www.southernstar.ie/subscribe, enter your details, and you'll get an exact replica of the newspaper for less than €2 per week. As always, thanks for listening to the Star Sport podcast, and thanks again to our sponsors at Access Credit Union. If you've enjoyed this, please remember to rate, review and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back again next week. Until then, take care.